Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're cutting through some of that really inspiring leadership talk you hear everywhere. You know, the powerful TED Talks, all the books saying vulnerability builds trust, or that strong leaders own their mistakes. Authenticity is key. It sounds great. Noble, even.
It really does. It's aspirational.
Yeah.
But then you step into the real world. You look at boardrooms or political crises, even just a struggling team.
Yeah.
And it's starkly different. Shame, almost never spoken aloud. Mistakes, rarely truly owned up to. And that vulnerability we talk about.
Almost non-existent.
Pretty much. What you actually see is, well, it's predictable. Leaders deflect. PR teams go into spin mode. Blame just rolls downhill.
And grace.
Grace is an afterthought, if it even shows up. Usually long after everyone stopped paying attention.
Wow. That's a huge gap, isn't it, between what we say we want from leaders and what actually happens. So for you listening, what does this paradox really mean? And maybe more importantly, where does all that shame, that stuff that's not acknowledged, where does it actually go?
That's exactly the mission for this deep dive.
Right.
We want to really untangle this leadership dilemma, explore why leaders feel they have to, armor up.
Right.
Even when it goes against everything we supposedly value. We'll introduce this idea, the armor syndrome, to explain what happens when shame gets buried.
Okay.
And crucially, talk about why we urgently need to build, safer rooms for accountability.
Yeah.
Spaces where grace can actually find a way in.
And that's not just for CEOs, right?
Absolutely not. This applies to anyone, really. Anyone leading a team, mentoring, anyone carrying that weight.
Okay, let's dig into that dilemma then. Because it feels like a core conflict. We ask leaders to be human. We want authenticity, vulnerability, that connection. But then the system, the whole environment, sometimes it feels like we've created it. It just punishes them when they actually are human, when they admit they messed up.
It's the ultimate catch-22, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. A leader steps up, says, I made a mistake. Or, honestly, I don't have the answer right now. What happens next?
Chaos.
Often, yeah. Shareholders might panic. Stocks drop. The media jumps all over it, amplifying every little detail.
Political opponents have a field day.
Exactly. They weaponize it.
Right.
And even their own team, they can start feeling insecure, lose confidence. The consequences are real, they're fast, and they're, frankly, uncomfortable.
So it kind of makes sense from their perspective.
From a purely self-preservation standpoint, absolutely. Why wouldn't you armor up, control the story, maybe delegate the apology? Just, wait for the news cycle to move on.
Which leads to that irony. For you, the listener, we're often the ones on the sidelines shaking our heads saying, why don't they just take accountability? Just own it.
Right.
But we might be helping create the very conditions that make it so risky for them to do that. It's not just a them problem.
It's a we problem, too.
Yeah.
A systemic thing. And this is where the armor syndrome comes in. It's not just a metaphor.
Okay.
It's a tangible pattern. It's what happens, what you can see when that shame isn't dealt with, when it goes unacknowledged.
Sure.
Just because you don't see it.
Doesn't mean it's not there.
Exactly. It goes underground.
Yeah.
And buried shame. It always leaks out somehow.
How does that leakage look? What are the signs?
Well, it manifests in specific ways. You might see overcompensation. Suddenly the leader is micromanaging everything.
Yeah. Needing to control every little detail.
Excessive control, constant overcorrecting, projecting this image of being totally infallible. We've all seen it, right? The boss who needs sign-off on coffee orders. Then there's defensiveness. Attacking feedback, blaming others instantly. Any criticism becomes a personal attack.
Shutting down questions.
Right. Dismissing valid concerns as just, negative or uninformed. Another big one is silence.
Like just withdrawing.
Emotional withdrawal, yeah. Ghosting the tough conversations. Becoming unavailable precisely when things get difficult. They just disappear. And maybe the most damaging one, long-term, burnout. This is where the body just can't take it anymore. The nervous system carries the load. The physical weight of all that suppressed shame that the ego won't face.
Wow. That's physically exhausting.
It is. Keeping up that performance takes a massive toll.
So when you put all that together, it's a pretty grim picture, actually. Behind the polished exterior, the controlled messages.
Many leaders are just quietly drowning, carrying this huge weight of shame silently every single day. And suppressed shame over time. It doesn't just vanish.
It curdles.
It curdles into cynicism, maybe resentment towards their own people, or just detachment, this coldness that creates an even bigger gap between them and everyone else. It's a huge human cost.
Yeah.
And this really points to the problem with the traditional leadership playbook. You know, the old idea, leaders must always be decisive, always confident, always in control.
Never show weakness.
Right. But that playbook, it's just fundamentally outdated now. The world's too complex, problems are interconnected, changing fast, and they're deeply human issues. Our old models just don't fit.
Totally. And in this messy reality, pretending you know everything or you never fail, that's not leadership.
It's performance.
It's pure performance. And it's exhausting, not just for the leader, but for everyone watching it too. It kills trust. It stifles real connection, creates fear.
Yeah. Nobody feels safe to admit they made a mistake if the leader never does.
Exactly.
So the solution, it sounds simple, but it's hard to do in practice. We have to build safer rooms for accountability. If we actually want leaders who lead with grace, who connect,
Or a human.
we have to create environments where it's actually safe for them to acknowledge shame, to pass through it, not just bury it.
Okay, what does that look like, practically?
Well, it means a few things. It means normalizing public ownership of mistakes without it being career suicide every single time.
Right, less public crucifixion.
Exactly. It also means creating genuinely private, confidential spaces, maybe with advisors, coaches, a trusted peer group, places where leaders can be real before they're expected to be right.
That feels crucial. If they can't be real somewhere.
They'll just keep performing everywhere.
Yeah.
We also need to shift what we reward. Reward responsibility, thoughtful adjustments, not just impulsive reactions.
And celebrate learning from mistakes.
Yes. Celebrate the recalibration, the adaptation, not just constant flawless reinvention. It's less about a big public confession, more about that internal process, acknowledging the discomfort, processing it, growing from it.
It's such a critical link, though. Grace. Real grace, the kind that builds trust. It only shows up when shame is acknowledged first.
Precisely.
But if acknowledging it always leads to punishment, to ridicule, then it never gets processed. It just gets buried deeper, fuels that armor syndrome.
It's a vicious cycle, honestly. When you look for public examples of leaders really owning shame in real time, right in the thick of it.
They're rare.
Incredibly rare. The examples we often point to, like, say, Satya Nadella at Microsoft or Jacinda Ardern in New Zealand, those moments often came after they'd built up years, even decades of credibility.
So the vulnerability landed differently.
Exactly. It was seen as strength because they already had that deep well of trust. It wasn't just a random act. It fit their character.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because most corporate apologies, they feel so scrubbed by lawyers. Sanitized, right. It's reputation management, not real accountability.
And in politics, accountability often feels forced, coerced by scandal, not volunteered out of reflection.
It's rarely chosen, usually reactive. But, and this is important, even though they're rare, those isolated examples, they still matter.
Why?
Because they signal that it is possible. They remind us that real leadership isn't about never falling down.
It's about how you get back up.
It's about falling, acknowledging it, moving through that discomfort of shame, and still being trusted.
Yeah.
It's about building that lasting respect through honesty, not just admiration for a perfect performance.
And this whole thing, this dilemma, it's not just for the big names, the CEOs, the presidents.
No, not at all.
This applies to anyone listening who's ever felt that weight of leadership. Maybe you lead a small team.
Yeah.
Maybe you mentor someone. Maybe you're raising kids.
In any of those roles, you've felt it, right? That pressure to be right, to be strong, to hide the wobbles. So maybe as we wrap this up, just take a moment, a quiet moment for yourself, and ask, when was the last time I actually said out loud I was wrong?
That's a tough one.
Or when have I maybe chosen silence when I knew deep down I should have been more transparent? And what would grace really look like in my own life if I let myself be seen, fully seen, even in the mess?
Because here's the uncomfortable truth, isn't it?
Yeah.
We say we want human leaders, we want authenticity.
Yeah.
But paradoxically, we often only really trust them when they pretend not to be human. And that's not just their problem, that's ours too.
So here's a final thought to maybe carry with you. Shame doesn't have to be the end of the story. It really can be the doorway to grace.
It can.
But only if we, all of us, stop treating it like some terrible weakness we have to hide. And maybe start seeing it as, well, the difficult, maybe painful, but necessary start of transformation. Because until we do that, we'll keep building leaders in armor, not character. And then we'll stand back and wonder why they feel so distant, so disconnected from the people they're meant to serve.